making homemade chicken soup for my daughter. Trim the fat off of the chicken thighs. So this stuff has lots of fat on it, but it's just an easy way to get most of the chicken fat off. You know, a sharp butcher's knife, and just get the large pieces. A little chicken fat is okay, but I like the thighs because it just has more flavor than the chicken breast. Chicken breast is fine too, if you prefer. Certainly going to be less fat to cut off from the chicken breast. Okay, so I have 3 quarts of water boiling. I'm putting my chicken thighs in there to cook them and to make the stock for the soup. Okay, here's the rest of the chicken. Trimmed thighs. So preparing to cut all the vegetables now. Okay, 2 large onions, peeled and diced. So I gave the onions a little rinse. So this is, I'm going to show you my little secret for dicing. Cut it into quarters like that. So I put my quartered onions into the Cuisinart, and I just pulse it. Okay. There's a little bit of skin left. I don't know where that came from. Well, anyway, you pulse it, and you've got basically chopped onion. Terrific. And then we peel and cut 8 large carrots. Some people don't peel their carrots because the most nutrition on a carrot is on the unpeeled skin. But in order to do that, you have to have organic carrots, so there's no pesticides on it. So the package doesn't say organic on this, so I'm going to peel, rinse, and then chop. I rinsed them already once, but then I'm going to rinse them again. Look at that. It does say organic. How could I have missed that? Anyway, I peeled them and rinsed them. It's probably a good practice to do anyway. Okay, so now I'm going to cut these. And I'm going to put these in the Cuisinart also. So I'm just going to cut the ends off. All of them. And then cut each one. No, cut the end off of that one too. It's a long process to cut carrots into tiny pieces. They're a little harder than celery and onion. So, Cuisinart is really helpful with that. So, since I've done it before, I know this also helps because the big chunks won't chop in the Cuisinart, so I just give it a little slice down the middle. It's all worth it in the end. Halfway done with this. Oops. I'll pick that up and rinse it off. That one too. Uh-oh. What's happening? Okay, this soup is gonna taste good. Nothing like homemade chicken soup. My daughter's sick. She deserves it. It'll make her feel better. Okay. So I moved the onions into a bowl. And now we will chop the carrots. Lock it up and pulse it. Until you get the desired chop. Small cubes. Let's do it a few more times. We're almost there. Okay. I think that's pretty good. You can look closer. A couple more. Sometimes you get a large chunk and you just have to chop that up. But everything looks pretty good. So the celery is a different story. I'm not going to put that into the Cuisinart. Celery's not difficult to chop. Unfortunately, the ends of the celery are just not attractive, so I had to cut them off. So I'm going to just slice them down the middle. And then chop. All right. So in my pan, I'm going to saute the vegetables. Heat up the pan. When it's hot, I'm going to add the olive oil. Let that heat up a bit. Meanwhile, the chicken is simmering in the pot over there. That's going to simmer for at least a half hour. So the first thing I add to the pan when I saute the vegetables is the onion. We all probably know, if we've cooked any amount in our life, that onions, celery, and carrots is your basic flavoring for stews and soups. If anybody has studied with Julia Child, it's your basic ingredients. I'm going to learn how to saute this. This is just like automatic. So you cook the onions on medium for about 4 to 5 minutes until translucent. Okay, the onions have been cooking for about 5 minutes, and that is what they look like now. So we're going to add the carrots and celery now. Okay, got all the carrots I could possibly get out of the Cuisinart. And here is the celery. Oops, mirepoix. All right. And then we saute this for another 5 to 10 minutes on medium or medium low. I'm going to add just a little more olive oil, just a little, to help it saute. You probably don't have to, because these vegetables will leak some of their water and create an environment where they can kind of saute without it. But I like the oil. I think it brings out a little bit more of their flavor too. So 5 to 10 minutes we'll saute the vegetables. So while the vegetables are sauteing, and I'm keeping my eye on them, I'm going to chop up the garlic and get the bay leaf ready. That's the next ingredient into the vegetable mixture. I just gave it a good stir. So I have this whole bulb of garlic. I'm taking 5 cloves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, I picked 6 out, so I'll use 6. It's a big pot of soup, so I think 6 isn't too bad. So we probably all know how to do this. Press down with the knife to take the skin off the garlic clove. It's got a little baby garlic clove there. Might as well use it. So you peel the skin off, each one. Here's a large clove. Oops, I gotta rinse all the way down. Okay, that's all right, I lost it. Oh, how'd that happen? Okay, so all the skin is off. Okay, so you take off the little ends, because those are not pleasant to see while you're eating, and any imperfections. Like this has a little scar on it from something happened when it was growing. I mean, it's not like bad to eat, but you don't want to find a chunk of that in your soup. Okay, so then you start chopping. So 5 cloves of garlic is not enough to put in the Cuisinart. Okay, here's a little piece. So you just have to chop it. And while that was the vegetables were sautéing, I cleaned the Cuisinart and I rinsed off the cutting board and rinsed off the knives and peeler, just so I'm ahead of the game. Can't have all this stuff left for the end. So you clean as you go. And this garlic is coming out good. You want the garlic minced. That's tiny pieces. Because, like, again, you don't want giant giant chunks of garlic when you're eating. So you just keep going. This isn't so bad. This is kind of therapeutic. Getting along pretty well here. Okay. Smells good. Big chunk I've missed. All right. See if you could see, these are really tiny little pieces. Now that's going to go into the vegetables at the end of the, 10 to 15 minutes sautéing. Because garlic cooks pretty quickly. You don't want it sautéing for more than 1, 2, 3 minutes tops, and make sure the garlic doesn't burn, because that leaves a nasty flavor and it ruins the whole vegetable. So here is the vegetable mixture, and it is cooked, and it's really nice. Everything's nice and soft. Translucent onions. We'll add the garlic. And 2 bay leaves. There's 1, 2, and mix that up. So I sauteed this on medium-low for the last 15 minutes. It was probably medium when I put the onions in at first. So let that simmer for about 1 minute, 2 minutes with the garlic and the basil. Garlic and bay leaf. Okay, so this has been simmering for about 2 minutes. I'm going to lower it and add some salt and pepper. You add that to your taste. I'll be adding a little more salt and pepper to the chicken broth that we made. I'm going to strain the chicken broth next. Okay, let that simmer another 30 seconds, and then I'll take the heat off. Okay, there's my other soup pot. I might need my second one because I need the 3 quarts. It's probably going to fit in it. It's just a different shape. But anyway, I could put it back in the original one after I strain the broth from the chicken. The strainer in there, and I'll bring the chicken over. Chicken broth. So I'm going to save all the chicken stock and separate the chicken and any bits that developed. All right, that looks really good. So here is the chicken, and there's the chicken broth in there. It's delicious. That smells so good. All right. So I disinfected the sink too with bleach earlier. I don't want to get any in the food, but I was working with raw chicken, so I disinfected that before I used the sink for the chicken broth straining. Okay, so here is the chicken broth, and there's a lot of it. So I have to transfer the vegetables in there and then simmer. So meantime, I'm going to shred the chicken. So I use a fork, a knife, and try to shred it instead of chop it. It just comes out a little more of a natural way. Okay, so now I'm going to add the juice from one lemon into the chicken soup. So here's my little juicer that I love. It's just very easy. It comes apart, and on the bottom is a plastic tray with a pourer, and it separates the pits from the juice. So I'll just do this for this one lemon. Try to get all the juice out of it. It's a big pot of soup, so one lemon will be just right. And there's the other half. Here you could see it's plenty of juice in there already. Oops. Okay, that looks good. Okay, so here, this is simmering so nicely. Look at that. That looks great. I could probably turn that down just a little bit. So that's cooking all the vegetables in, in the broth. Okay, this wire is in the way. I didn't realize that. It's cooking it in the broth. I'm going to lower that a bit. You'll see the simmer go down. Then I'm going to put all the lemon juice, minus the pits, in the soup. There. All right. So I reduced that a little bit. Now it's simmering rather than boiling. I'll cover it back up, leaving just a little spot so it doesn't overflow. If you look closely, you could see it simmering. All right, so we're about 15 minutes away from finish, and I'm going to add the rest of the salt. I'm going to taste it. A little bit more of pepper. Good cook always tastes as they go along, just to make sure the flavor is on point. Mix that up. All those flavors should be blended really nicely. Okay, use a little more seasoning. Pepper. Little salt. I'm gonna go rinse my spoon and then taste it again. Much better. Okay. We'll let that simmer for the rest of the time. Okay, last step. So I have a Creuset pot, and even though this has been on the oven all day, an hour, this top does not get too hot. It's been on top of the stove. Now, if it was in the oven, that's a different story. So we add the shredded chicken. This is the last step. Everything fits. So this boiling is going to stop, but then it'll start boiling again once the chicken gets to temperature. There we go. Yummy. Everything fits. Great. So I'll stir it up a bit, gently. Then I'll taste it again and adjust any of the seasoning. It's really just salt and pepper. Just make sure it's got enough of that. And then look at that. That looks good. Homemade chicken soup. So I'm boiling some water, about 3 to 4 quarts, because I'm going to make some rigatoni, some pasta for the soup, to make it basically chicken noodle soup if anybody wants it. So I'm going to cook the pasta separately. You could put it in the soup for the last 10 minutes and the pasta will just cook. But I'm probably going to have to reheat this up because we're not going to eat this all in one sitting. So to have the noodles separately, it won't sit in the liquid and get too mushy. So this way it's nice because you keep it separate and you just kind of control the amount of pasta or noodles that you have in your soup. So I'm going to salt the water. Going to cover it and bring it to a boil. Okay, the water is boiling, so I'm going to pour the Mezzi Rigatoni in. It's by Barilla, and that cooks for 10 minutes. Give it a quick stir and put the timer on. So it'll come back to a boil and then you turn it down to simmer. Turn it down till it just simmers. More stir so it doesn't stick.